Good morning and welcome to Rose Red Homestead, where today we are going to do another master mix. And I have to tell you, I am having the best time with these mixes. And so are many of you. I was just delighted to skim through some of the comments. Jim usually does most of the answering. But as we have started this video series, many of you are working ahead. So many of you have already downloaded the two resources that we're working with. This is from the University of Alaska Extension's office, and this is from Utah State office. And in fact, now that I have this one in my hand, our next one is going to be out of this little booklet. The links for both of these are below the video so that you can print them off yourself and have them handy. On page 16 of this little booklet, we are now in the cold storage mixes. So these are not the dry mixes like what we are going to do today. We're doing the buttermilk master mix today. And boy, do I have some things to share with you. But this cold storage mix is, in the booklet, it's called South of the Border Meat Mix. And this is going to be a make and freeze meal for us, or make and freeze mix for us. It's going to produce quite a bit of meat. So we're going to package it in recipe sizes that we use for a lot of common things needing this Southwest flavor. I'm calling it the Southwest Meat Mix because I have to shorten titles so that they will fit on our little thumbprints advertising our videos. But you will know that it comes from this little booklet, and it just absolutely looks delicious. I can't wait to do this. So we'll be doing this one next week, so be ready for it. Many of you are working ahead in the Alaska book. I've had, well, the Alaska handout, well, I guess it's a booklet, it's 21 pages or so. But we're having comments on the cake master mix and the pudding master mix, and everybody is loving it. And let me tell you, I am becoming a believer. This buttermilk mix that we're going to do today made some of the best pancakes that I've ever had. They were just wonderful. I have a little clip that I'm going to show right here, and you can get Jim's take on that. Cooking these with a little bit of ghee in the pan. And I mixed the batter so that it was a little bit thinner than the recipe.
These are better than the other ones.
Oh, I agree. And then the other thing that we made, I can only find 3 recipes that use this buttermilk mix. And so I, a couple of days ago, mixed up a half a recipe because I wasn't sure how much I was going to like it, and I didn't want to make up a full recipe if I wasn't going to make it. But the pancakes alone convinced me, and we're going to put together a full mix today. But the other one was these little muffins. And these are just the best, except for the fact that I know muffins are not supposed to be very sweet, but these needed more sugar. So next time I make these, I'm going to double the sugar. And also, the other thing that was lacking was the muffin recipe is just basic, plain, foundational batter. And you can add anything to it that you wish. I added pumpkin pie spice to these, and they're great. It makes 12 muffins if you use these tiny muffins. Otherwise, it probably makes only 6. But I have these 2 cast iron mini muffin pans that I use out when we do Dutch oven cooking. These will fit right down in my Dutch oven, so I can make muffins that way. But the size is just great. 3 or 4 bites and they're done. But I'm going to add I added a teaspoon of pumpkin pie spice. Next time I'm going to add a teaspoon and a half. And I'm also going to chop up some of our dehydrated apple slices into little bits and add those as well. But you could put in raisins or craisins or season it, flavor it with any other spices that you might like. So it's a wonderful, versatile mix. They sure come out nice. I don't know if you can see all of the holes there that indicate rising. So they have a really nice texture. They're light and just wonderful. So I'm going to put this aside. So here is what I have left of the buttermilk master mix from a half of a batch. And so we're going to make the biscuit recipe. And I haven't tried that yet, so I don't know how these are going to taste. But if you remember from the quick mix, I said I would be very interested to see what the difference would be between that mix and this buttermilk mix.
I just put the rest of it in. What the heck?
No. So Jim said I should just put the rest in. Okay. I'll just do that. All right. So then the only thing that we need to add, and remember my counters are always cleaned off right before our videos, so this is perfectly fine. I'm adding a half a cup of liquid, gives us the choice between water and milk. I chose milk, and I'll probably need a little bit more because of the extra powder. And if you remember, with our last video on the mix, one of the things that I suggested was that because these mixes are so versatile, you have your choice between this or that in a number of things in terms of liquids and in terms of fats. And don't be afraid to mess with the amount of liquid or any other ingredient if it doesn't quite fit what you usually do for the same consistency of whatever it is that we're mixing up. So you saw that I had to put in a little bit more, which is fine. Okay, let's see, where's my flour? All right, I'm just going to knead this 2 or 3 times to bring it all together. You don't want to manipulate biscuit dough very much at all. That's our oven ready. And so I'm going to pat this out. To about 3/4 of an inch. It says it makes 10 small biscuits. So we'll see. This pan, but I bet this pan is not going to be big enough now. Let's just see. And when you're cutting biscuits, you always want to use a very sharp-edged cutter. Like a jar, it doesn't do as well because it mashes the side dough together, but a sharp one like this just cuts right straight through, which makes the biscuits better able to rise. So we'll try it and see if we've got enough room. This is going to make 2 more. I don't think I can fit 2 more in here.
Doesn't look like it.
Maybe. We're just going to make an odd shape and put it right there.
Yeah, oblong works.
Okay, a few little scraps. All right, so in this goes, and it says to bake them for 12 to 15 minutes. So while these are baking, we're going to mix up our mix. All right, by now you know the drill. So it calls for 8 cups of flour. I have 4 already in. I will be putting in the remaining 4 right now. So there's 1, 4. Okay, there's our flour. Then next is 1/3 of a cup of baking powder. And 2 teaspoons of salt. Three-fourths cups dry buttermilk. This is buttermilk that we have freeze-dried ourselves, but you can always buy powdered buttermilk. It's available, readily available. You can get it on Amazon. I wasn't sure I was going to have enough with what was left in this jar, and I didn't. So I brought in another one from our food storage. This is now, we did this one in January of this year, so it's almost a year old. And still doing just fine. And this, I'm not going to run through this. Well, I think I will. Cut it into smaller pieces as it comes through. So this now goes in our pantry. So I'm putting it over here. And what else do we have? 1/4 cup of sugar. So it's 1 1/4 cups of sugar.
That was 1 1/4 cups of sugar.
That was 1/4 cup of sugar. I think I missed the soda.
You had the
2
baking
tablespoons
powder.
of soda.
Okay.
And this soda is quite lumpy. Okay, so we are now ready. So we're going to send these through the strainer to sift. And when it comes down to the buttermilk, I'm just going to use my hand to force the buttermilk through the strainer so it can also be in very small size pieces. So here's our soda that I need to send through, and buttermilk. Now, we mix these things together to make sure we have even distribution of everything. And we have the option of adding shortening or oil, and I opt for oil just because it is easier to mix. Okay, I think we have a pretty good mixture there. And we have the option between 1 and 1 1/2 cups of oil, and I have put in I overfilled the 1 cup to what I think is about 1 1/4 cups, between 1 1/4 cups and 1 1/2 cups. So that will work just fine. And now this is going to take a little bit of time, mixing in this oil. And I'll show you how I get started with this, and then we'll come back and I'll show you the finished product. Okay, so you can see that this really needs a lot of cutting in. It's very lumpy. That oil has clumped up with the flour. And so this is what I do. I get a handful and run it through the strainer backwards over and over again. And this will take probably about 10 minutes for me to run everything through over and over so that it's all evenly mixed. So we will be back at that point. So Jim's going to come up close and get a really close-up look at this. Now notice that this is still clumping, but it's not the super oily clumps anymore. These are now completely, there's an oily one. These should be pretty much completely run through this strainer so that everything is now mixed. So the next thing then is to get it into this container. Now I did not wash this container because the mix was only like 2 days old that we used for the biscuits this morning. So there's nothing in there that's going to hurt this mix. And you know that these are good according to what the instructions say at the beginning of the booklet. These are good for about 6 months on the shelf. Okay. So there we have a full mix. And I'm so delighted because those, oh, I still almost dream about those pancakes. They were so wonderful. And I'm sure that the waffles, I have not yet made the waffles, but I'm sure that they will be the same. So I'm going to clear the deck here and we'll get ready to take our biscuits out. They should be almost done. Well, look at these. Look at these. Even our little oblong one looks good. We did pack them rather close together, however, so they're going to have soft sides. On the bottom, wah, hot, hot.
Supposed to be.
I know. So it's always good to cut into hot breads with a fork. I can't wait to taste this. So let's see how they are. They're very tender, very light. Nice taste. It's a true biscuit taste. I think these would hold a candle to pretty much any biscuits I've made. So I think they may be just a little bit more crumbler. More crumbly. Thank you, Jim. I think these may be a little more crumbly than my biscuits are, but boy, they're great. Very, very nice. So I think with this, Jim and I will stop and have some biscuits with our breakfast and encourage you to really try this one. You know, I was thinking, you know, I probably don't need the quick mix and the buttermilk mix. I really like the quick mix because it is so versatile. There are maybe 10 recipes that are in the little booklet that we can use. The buttermilk mix only has 3 recipes, well, 4 if you count both pancakes and waffles, but it's the same recipe. And I thought maybe I don't want to mix up a whole mix of that. But after tasting the results, yes, I do, because this will be so quick to do biscuits especially. And I always appreciate that. So thank you so much for joining us in this series, and keep on reporting your successes and how your things are turning out as you try these mixes as well. We love to hear from you. So thank you so much, and we'll see you very soon for more videos.